folks, I'm the Bald Guy, and these are Bald Guy Basics. Today I have kind of a product review as well as a demonstration of a product that is very handy to have for your small engine maintenance. It's spring of the year this year, just turned into May, and one of the things I need to do is to change the oil in some of my equipment. Behind me here I have what looks like a push mower, but it's actually a hover mower. I've had a video on it. Has a Honda engine. It is the Honda GCV160. It says 5.5. I guess that's horsepower, whatever. If you have a push mower, you're going to be using most likely straight, probably 30 weight motor oil. And with a lot of push mowers, you're going to put the oil in the top, and there may be a drain plug in the bottom. So you just set the thing up on blocks and you can drain it out. But because this is a hover mower, the engine is not mounted directly to the frame. It is mounted on spacers so that it can suck air in. Let me just let's make some movements here. So what we have is my oil spout here where I put oil in. It's also, I guess, the only way to take oil out. I was looking to see if maybe there's a plug here, but there isn't. You probably do what most of us do. You take the oil plug off and get a pan and turn it over and tilt the whole thing up and try to drain the oil out. Well, the product I want to show you, and they make a lot of these in different shapes. I can't find this shape anymore. This is called the Liquid Vac. It is a fluid evacuation device, and what it does, this is all reservoir here, as well as vacuum chamber. The pump here, which you just pull it out and pump it a few times, actually creates a vacuum. And I keep it stored in this little tray. I have a long vacuum line. You simply insert it here, open the valve, put it in there, and then pump the thing up, and then you get a nice gravity flow of it will siphon your oil out. So this is a siphon. I looked on Amazon yesterday for a I think they're called fluid extractors. I just looked for a motor oil removal vacuum pump, and these come in all shapes and sizes. A lot of them look like this thing from here up. They are a vacuum cylinder that looks like a syringe, and it will have a plunger in the back and then a tube on the front. Those things start at $12 or $13, and then they go on up depending on how lavish. I don't even know what this one cost. This was given to me years ago. But today, I'm going to show you how simple it is to be able to pull the oil out of a small engine. I will also use this on the zero-turn mower, a larger engine. It helps to reduce the amount of oil that ends up getting all over the frame of your device, which oil, if you don't clean it up, then you have all the dust and debris sticking to it. It just makes things worse. So what we're going to do is to extract the oil, and then we will replace it. Now, the first thing I did, if you look in the back of the truck back there, the yellow thing, that's my leaf blower. The first thing I did, by the way, you see what I deal with here. Pin oak here. There are two big pine trees here and here. Pine trees over there, pine trees over there. So I get all of this. Look in the back of the truck back here. All of this little debris comes off pine trees, and it was all over this thing. It had blown up under the shed, and plus the debris from having used this. So the first thing I do is I take my leaf blower and just blow as much debris off of it as I can. You can still see some little stuff sticking to it. You're always going to have that. You can then dust it off with a towel or something. But this is a nice way to keep your oil in a safe place. And what I do, I buy oil in the 5-quart jugs or gallon jugs, whatever they happen to be. And when I finish one, I just keep it. I use a marker to mark, old oil, so I can transfer once I've used this several times. Let me see if I can get I don't know if you can see that. There we go. You see, I had to tilt it up. It is semi-transparent, translucent, I guess. So I can see when I can get there. This thing will hold 3 quarts. 3 quarts comes up to here. You know me, I run it up to there, but I can get more than 3 quarts in this thing, and then I just transfer it over to my my waste oil collection jug. And I've got a friend who runs a garage right down here in town, and I can bring a jug full of oil there, and he will put it in with his waste oil, and it will be recycled properly. So let's take just a minute. Let me change my setup here because I need my hands that are currently on the camera, and we'll get everything set up and show you how easy this thing is to change your oil. All right, I've got my vacuum pump set up. There's a valve on this thing right here that you simply turn. Sorry, I had to use both hands. So I simply rotated it. And one of the things we're going to do, we're going to insert our tube, our collection tube, directly into our oil port. So what I'm going to do, yeah, I realize that you didn't see what I was doing. I just took my rag and I'm wiping off the outside of this tube so that as I insert it in here, and I want to go all the way till I hit bottom. Another thing I'll explain that I've done here, I don't know how much you can tell this, but see, the truck is on an angle. I like using the tailgate so I don't have to bend over, but I've got this whole thing tilted up so that the oil is running in this direction, and that's the explanation of the yellow bungee cord. And now that I've got my valve open here, all I need to do, and I'm gonna have to put you down here. All I need to do, well, this screws in, by the way. You look at the oil. See, I just pulled it a couple of times, and because I'm downhill, I am getting a nice siphoning action. This thing is several years old, and I do have a little bit of a leak there in my, I've lost a seal, I guess, partially. But you can see the oil running through our hose, and I just sit and wait. And if I get in a hurry, of course, I can pump it and make it go faster. But what we're really after is a siphoning action. And if I want to increase the siphoning action, what I do is just hold my thing a little bit further downhill, my collection bin, and that gravity gives us a nice gravity assist. So I'm going to turn the camera off and just let this thing run, and then I'll boot it back up and we'll see the final result. Well, I tried to turn it on real fast. Look at the line here. I'm going to sneeze. Excuse me. You can see the oil kind of bubbling there. So in other words, I've gotten pretty much to the bottom of my reservoir. I was off camera for less than a minute. And again, I'm holding with my other hand kind of below. I want to stay below the level of that for the maximum siphoning effect. But it pulled I guess these motors hold less than a quart, out in just a minute or so. And while I did have a little runoff, you see on the back of my collection bin here, look at the mower itself, not a single drop. So it's now stopped moving. Let me see if I can put you here. I'm going to give it another pump or two. I may have gotten just at least a little bit more. I doubt you can hear it, but I'm getting that same sound you get when the straw is at the bottom of the cup. And so it's gurgling now. And what I'm going to do is remove my hose and hold it up and try to get as much of this to go down into my collection reservoir as I can. I know I'm out of camera here. Now, the reason I keep this thing is because you will keep an oily residue in this pipe for quite some time. So when it's all said and done, and I have just a little bit of oil draining here, I found that no matter how long I hold this doggone thing, some of that residue will continue to kind of collect together. So I just wrap it up in this little tray here, and I have a little residue in the bottom of it from continued drainage. Okay, I'm done. So I close off my valve and I just roll this thing up. I rolled it up and I put it right inside here. And this is not a secure storage method. So I keep some painter's tape on here, and I just run that across the top here, and guess what? That keeps my hose from coming out. Put it on the shelf, everything's good. And that leaves my plug here, which I inspect to make sure I don't have any debris on it. I'm going to close it just enough so that I don't get any anything blowing off these trees or debris out of the truck if the wind gets up. And then I'll go inside and get my my fresh oil, put it in here, and the last thing I'll do, and this is something you need to do somewhere, I will document. Here we are, May of 2024. I've changed the oil in which device and what kind of oil I used. For my big mower, when I'll change the oil on it, I'll actually include documentation of the filter, including the model number of the filter, which makes it easier the next time I want to go and get one. It's easy when I go to the Kubota dealership. My zero turn is a Kubota. I said, well, I need a filter for my mower, and they've got all the information. But sometimes you'll go to an auto parts place and ask for a lawnmower filter, and cross-referencing that thing can be quite a challenge. It's always easier when you have a model number to go with it. So except for the drippage that's coming off the back of my vacuum device, that's the only thing I want to have to wipe up just a little bit. I have just a little bit here on the back of the truck, not a bit on the mower, and that makes, basically with the exception of a 1 minute delay when I turned the camera off, you've watched the whole process. I'm pretty sure that you don't need to see me put oil back in this thing. If you've never done it, you need to put your device, your mower, on level ground. You can feel it like it is, but to measure the appropriate level, just fill it, and then I have a dipstick on the bottom here, and I need to come up to the top of my dipstick. There's an old rule of thumb that is not universal, but forever we were told not to use multi-grade motor oil in an air-cooled engine. When I was a teenager, I bought an old Volkswagen Beetle, and I drove that thing for, well, it had 250,000 miles when it finally blew. But that was one thing they insisted: don't put multi-grade, that is blended motor oil, 10W30, 10W40, into an air-cooled engine. On my zero-turn mower, which is a Kawasaki air-cooled engine, they actually recommend 10W30. So be sure that you check the specs. If you don't have an owner's manual, you live in a day that is unlike anything that I grew up with. All you have to do is Google the model of, this is a Honda GCV 160, their 5.5 horsepower motor, and say, recommended oil for this model of mower, and you can find it out very easily. So that's where we are today. I've actually already used this mower this spring. It's excellent. Hover mowers are not good cutting mowers, and the reason is they're blowing air down to make the thing float. But behind the lawnmower shed down there, I've got an area of ground that stays very swampy, especially early in the spring, as all the winter drainage from the mountain here comes down. So I can't get my big mower down there. I can mow right over the top of it here. It doesn't sink in a bit. So other than wet shoes, I'm fine. I use this on hills and other hard to get to reach areas, but they're great mowers for small spaces. They're great. If you have a pond, you can mow right out onto the surface of the pond. Like if you want to cut that stuff that grows both on the land and in the edge of the pond. Hover mowers are great for that. They're really good for difficult terrain up to just past maybe 45 degrees. So I've got other videos on the hover mower itself, but this liquid vac is a great item to have around. If the seal gets any worse on this pump, I'll probably take this thing apart and check into it to see if I can fix the seal. If I can't, for less than $20, I'll buy another one of these. I use them. I use this mower so infrequently. I change the oil every 2 to 3 years. This thing gets less than 5 hours of use per year. So even at changing at 3 years, the oil is not beyond its service life, but after a while you get to worrying about humidity and condensation getting into the oil, so you don't want to do that. But this thing sits on the shelf most of the time, but when you want it. I use it for my, excuse me, for my zero turn, for this hover mower. I also have a 4-cycle log splitter. Just handy as it can be to not have to drain oil out the side of your engine and then have to clean that up. So that's our video for today. I hope that you're having a wonderful spring. I'm going to have some more videos. We've got the garden started, and we'll talk a little bit more about that on another video. But hope you'll subscribe, hope you'll share these videos with your friends, and we will see you next time. I am the Bald Guy, and these are Bald Guy Basics. All right, just one last note here. I checked the specs like I told you to do online, and actually the Honda motor, this is a GCV 160, it's also called a GX 160. It takes 0.6 of a liter of oil. I have never liked using a dipstick on a mower. They're just imprecise. You don't know how much you're putting in there. So one of the things I do, I keep an old plastic measuring cup in the basement, and the markings are so worn down that you have to kind of have it in the sunlight to see it. But it actually has markings for the metric side here. I needed 0.6 of a liter. That's actually the line here. Filled it up. I know exactly how much oil to take. Works really well. When you're done, wipe it down with one towel. Put a paper towel in it. That will absorb the residue of oil that's on here and keep a lot of the oil from collecting dust. When I go to use it the next time, I'll put a little used motor oil, just a very little, on the towel, and then wipe around. Guess what? It sticks, any particulate that's in there sticks to the towel. So it works really well. So we're ready to go now. I'm the Bald Guy. Have a good one.